All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Career Tuesday on a beautiful sunny Tuesday, February 15th. We do have another great employer in the house with us, the Hartford. Representing the organization is Leah DeLorenzo. Leah, thank you so much for
Hi,
coming
of
in.
course.
And many of our students are very excited to learn about your organization and the fantastic opportunities, as well as maybe a little bit insight on the company culture and all the great benefits that you have part of the Hartford as well. So I definitely wanted to sort of give you just the lay of the land, the agenda. I will go through some questions that we have from the career office, and then open up the chat function as well as questions that students may have virtually here today, and then any other staff members as well. And then, if students hopefully wanted to make contact with you or to learn more about opportunities, they could definitely do that maybe hopefully after today's session. So I'd like to begin by asking the first question, Leah, if you could just give us a little bit more insight, like who is the Hartford, especially for
Yeah.
students that are freshmen just starting out at the university and they want to learn about your organization, your company. What do you guys actually have as far as opportunities, but more speaking about the company and what industry do you guys really service?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So the Hartford, I'm sure a lot of people, if you're ever driving through the Hartford area off of 84, you see our big building and you may not know what we are or what we do. But the Hartford, we are a financial services company. We are an insurance company. We're currently recruiting for many different roles. So of course, insurance is a very broad field, a lot of things you can do within insurance. So right now, or I should say, currently the positions we have open are somewhat limited, and this is one of the things I don't love about recruiting in the spring is that there aren't a lot of roles left. We try to wrap those up before the end of the year for all of our May hires, whether they're internship or full time. But we do still have some opportunities available. But typically, we recruit for many different areas. A lot of which resonate very well with UConn School of Business students. I myself was a UConn School of Business student. So, we recruit for product management roles, marketing, finance, tech and data, operations, underwriting, claims. So a lot of different areas. So chances are, if you're a business student, there's probably going to be at least one opportunity that is a good fit for your background. So.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. I mean, being part of a Fortune 500 company and having all different facets of business operations and the needs behind that to make that machine run, if you will, is great to know that students have that potential and opportunity in different bandwidth.
Yep.
And speaking about making those connections with students for potential opportunities, especially when we're talking about career events like Career Tuesday or maybe a career fair. Networking with someone, maybe at the Starbucks coffee line that you connect with after the event. What's that ideal candidate really look like? Whether it's on paper or in person,
Yep.
and if there's a crowd of 20 potential options for you right behind the scenes when you're reviewing resumes or meeting with someone and connecting, who's that
Yep.
ideal candidate? What really makes them stand out and resonate with potential for the Hartford?
Well, I mean, because we recruit for such a broad range of roles at the Hartford, I think whatever hiring manager you ask is going to have a little bit of a different perspective of what that ideal candidate looks like. But for a lot of the roles I recruit for, I have a lot of underwriting positions open right now, claims roles. One of the things that I, stress the importance of is, navigating the environment, the hectic environment that we've been in for the last couple of years now, and really standing out, going above and beyond the other applicants that are, in the pool. So whether that means following up, sending a LinkedIn invite or message after you apply, or just reaching out and asking me for a conversation or someone else that works at the Hartford. People love to talk about themselves. They love to talk about the place that they work. Chances are, if they're working there, they probably enjoy it and love where they work. So I think, just trying to make your resume, your application stand out above the rest. Things, I would say more technical skills for a lot of the roles. If you have any sort of background using different programs, I love to see that on a resume, especially for, when we recruited for our finance roles. Some students that really stood out to me had experience with Tableau, and I don't know if that's something that business students are learning in their classes, but that's a program that we use pretty frequently at the Hartford. So any
Wow.
types of programming experience like that going on a resume, we like to see that. And I think, for roles like underwriting, where, we're looking for the ideal candidate can lie anywhere from a political science major to a finance or an accounting major, because we're looking for someone that has that analytical mindset, likes to think in terms of numbers, but, being able to tell a story with data, and being able to communicate that data to, say, a manager or someone on your team or a client. I think that is really important to show that you're well-rounded. And, I'll end this with, things that you can do now to build your resume and maybe get more involved on campus. We love to see, of course, involvement on campus, but not just, member, being part of these committees, but also maybe taking on a leadership opportunity within them. And if that's a little bit challenging now, say, as an underclassman, then making active steps to get there, and put bulleted points underneath the organization of what you've done to contribute to that organization, provide them value. Same goes for any type of job opportunity, not just necessarily a club or organization on campus. So things like that. I mean, I guess I can probably speak to this question for hours. There's a lot of things that I think make an ideal candidate, but that definitely depends on the type of role that you're applying to.
That's fantastic. Well, that's great to know. And yeah, it's interesting to, the fact that you're pointing out as well. It's the leadership aspect that students also have to sort of bring to the table, and not just being that member, but also taking an active initiative. Whether I always tell students, whether it's volunteering, being a club leader, showing initiative and drive, leading a group, case competitions, doing things that you kind of go above and beyond of just
Yes.
taking on the academics. So that's great, Leah, that you really point that out for students. When it comes to the application process too, for students that are interested in internships or full-time jobs, should students be applying directly on Handshake, on LinkedIn, on the company's websites? We have all these different forums to use.
Yeah.
What's the best, approach, I guess, to the application process when it comes with the Hartford? But then also, a lot of students will come into our office and ask us, hey, Mick, there's a job with the Hartford or another company, for instance. It might be listed for over 30 days.
Yep.
Should I be applying for it on Handshake? I know they have an open time frame for, it looks like for a few months this job's open for. Should I be applying for it? What's the safe bet here?
So I know it probably can be pretty confusing, because yes, we are posted, I think, everywhere. So we, all of our roles are intertwined, or I'm sorry, all of our postings are intertwined. So chances are, if you're applying to Handshake, it is eventually going to show up in our system. But I've had candidates tell me that they've applied on Handshake and then it doesn't show up in our system right away. It takes maybe like 2 or 3 days. I think, maybe the most direct and easy way to know exactly what is posted in real time, it would be on our website, which is just www.thehartford.com/college. That will take you to all of the roles that are available to college students. And so on there, we've got opportunities available for freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So freshmen, right now, we're not currently recruiting for it because it just happened this past January, but we have a freshman experience program, which is a 1-day kind of, it's a series of workshops based around, how can I start to position myself to land that job opportunity that I'm going to want come, junior year. Well, maybe not job, but internship opportunity, which would lead to a job opportunity. So that's for freshmen. That is every January. It's a 1-day event. We've done it virtually the last couple of years. Maybe 2023 is the year when.
So is that sort of like a shadowing event for the students?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess shadowing in the way that you're learning a little bit more about, like, the Hartford. You're not necessarily shadowing someone that works at the Hartford. It's
Sure.
run by the university relations team. But
Okay.
speaking of shadowing, that's something that I would say I think of shadowing more when I think of the early immersion program, which is for sophomores. And that is something that we are currently recruiting for. It runs every June. And it is a program that is kind of like a more in-depth version of freshman experience, where you're not only learning about things like personal branding and, what are your personal values and how do they align with a place like the Hartford or whatever company you're looking a little bit more into. You're going to have the opportunity to learn a little bit more from, the different leaders in all of our different lines of business. So, and then at the end of that program, there's the opportunity to interview for the priority seats in our summer internship program for the following year. So our freshman experience program feeds our early immersion program. Our early immersion program feeds our internships for the following year. And then our internship programs, every seat that we have in the internship program, there is a full-time opportunity behind that. So, it's best to, get involved early with the Hartford because, we try to fill whatever that next program in line is with people from that previous step, So
It makes sense.
yeah,
It makes total
yeah.
sense.
So I would say,
And students are getting great exposure that way and really learning about the business and all the different segments, the values, the culture along the way,
yeah.
and then hopefully finding that perfect team.
Yeah, exactly. Because, there's for a lot of students, there's going to be multiple opportunities that are a good fit for their specific background. So I think being able to maybe be a little bit more choosy about, the areas that you are most interested in is really helpful to learn a little bit more about each role before going ahead and applying. And so, I always say the most the way to really learn what you do like and what you don't like is to actually try it. And there's only so much you can really learn in a classroom setting or a virtual classroom setting nowadays.
Very true.
Yeah. So did I fully answer that question? I don't remember if there was a second part to it.
You answered it pretty
Okay.
darn well.
All right. I tend to ramble, so I want to make sure I cover all bases.
No, absolutely. No, you did a great job.
Awesome.
You really did a great job. The other pieces, like for the full-time roles now, especially for seniors that are graduating when they're going into the programs. I believe you guys have like a LDP program, the Leadership Development Program,
Yeah.
as well as some entry-level roles. And as
Mhm.
far as the training goes, what's
Mhm.
that sort of process look like? Is it going to be, rotating in different departments? Are we going to have, someone that's going to be that mentor to the mentee relationship piece?
Yeah. Yeah. So anytime you see LDP, which is Leadership Development Program, that is a rotational program. And so some of our areas of business will offer an opportunity like that. So we normally will have an LDP within finance, marketing, product, um, tech and data, operations. There may be one I'm missing, but what that would mean is that there are multiple rotations, anywhere from maybe 6 to 8 rotations that students will, even as an intern, because we do have LDP internships as well, will get exposure to a couple of different areas. And again, I think that's really helpful to see what you do like and don't like.
Mhm.
And then at the end of that rotation, say you go on, even if you start within the internship program, you get an offer to do the full-time LDP, and then you kind of go through that entire program, which lasts, I believe, 3 years, 2 to 3 years. After that program ends, you will transition right into the rotation that makes the most sense. Of course, taking into account your choice, what your priority would be, and then what teams you perform well with, and kind of what the needs of the business are at the time. So yeah, I would say anytime you see that LDP, just know that that's what that is. There's also, in terms of like when we're talking about just training in general for any of our other full-time opportunities, we will, like, for example, we have an underwriting trainee program, which isn't necessarily a rotational program, but you are going through a 10 to 12 week program called the underwriting trainee program. And after that, you kind of, I would say, graduate into the associate underwriter role. Upon successful completion of that program. So, and it's just kind of, you don't have to apply to that role after you complete the training. You just kind of transition right into that role. So, yes. And then in terms of mentorship, I believe all interns are assigned mentors and, full-timers as well. You're going to have assigned mentors. You're going to have unassigned mentors, kind of informal mentors, people that are working on your team that are just willing to help. Maybe some of which came from an internship program in the past at the Hartford. So I think, that's one of the great things about the Hartford is that people are so willing to help, and I can totally attest to that because of my somewhat limited time with the Hartford. Just being onboarded in such a supportive environment is just it totally changes the experience of
Wow.
starting at a new career so I can definitely say in all aspects of the experiences I've heard from interns and full-timers, it's just a very common theme that I'm hearing is the supportive and inclusive environment that the Hartford has created, even in these challenging times that we're living in, being 100% virtual right now. So
That's awesome. So
yeah,
you guys probably have like coffee hours or even virtual get-togethers as far as building that camaraderie and that
yeah,
company culture too.
yep.
You
Yep,
know, in
every
these
team's a little
times.
different, so I can't speak to every team, but we try. We do a good job, I think.
Absolutely. Um, Let me ask you this too, as far as the full-time roles, I know you also have like different divisions, right? Like Hartford is Hartford Fire Security
Yeah,
and HIMCO, for instance. And
mhm,
I get a lot of students too that might be in the finance major and they're really
yes,
interested in the investment side.
yep.
What types of programs are also kind of geared towards that finance piece? If students are interested in maybe working for the Hartford, but also maybe for HIMCO for
Yeah.
again Hartford Investment Management Company.
Yep. So I'll kind of circle back to that same conversation I was having before. I don't know what's currently available.
Mhm.
Typically, yes, there are internships and full-time opportunities available in our HIMCO department. So, under that kind of umbrella. I don't know if anything's available right now. Of course, all of our opportunities that are available are listed on our website. So, but yeah, there's many different areas at the Hartford. So, if you ever see, like for example, if you ever see Navigators, that's also owned by the Hartford, but it's that is the Hartford. So, you can learn a little bit more about all of the different roles and kind of read through every job description and see what they're all about on the website. So it's a lot more comprehensive on there than I can probably speak to right now.
Absolutely. I always tell students so important to sort of engage with that website, learn about the company history, the
Yes,
milestones, what's the stock trading at
absolutely.
for the company, the Wall Street
Absolutely.
Journal, what's going on with the Hartford.
Yep, I can
You know,
always tell when people do their research and they come in and
abs-
they're like, "Leah, this is a great company, been around for 200 plus years, this is, obviously you guys know what you're doing. Someone just talked to me about it this morning. You guys know what you're doing. You've been around for so long." And
that's
I would have
that's
to
funny, which
agree.
actually leads me to my next question for you, Leah, related directly
Yeah.
to the interviewing process.
Yeah. Yep.
You could, questions like, "Hey, tell me not only about yourself, but what you know about our organization."
Mhm.
What's that process, that structure really look like for the students going in, whether it's for an internship or a
Mhm.
full-time job? Are they going to have more of those traditional based or
Yep.
behavioral based questions? Is it a multi-step process?
Yep.
And is it virtual?
Mhm.
What's that look like today?
So, currently everything is virtual, yes, in the interview process. So the first step would be a phone screen with either myself or Sarah or Mark on my team. So our phone screens are pretty, I would say, pretty casual in nature. I think the purpose of my first conversation is really just to get to know you, find out a little bit more about, what you were interested in pursuing, a little bit more about your background experiences, things that you're currently involved in, so that I can get a better feel for one, are you a good fit at the Hartford? And two, what types of roles are you a good fit for at the Hartford? And so, I'll throw in a couple of behavioral questions. And of course, we love to see your responses in the form of the STAR method. And I'm sure as UConn students, business students, you guys are very familiar with that process. So nothing new. I try not to be too painful with my questions. So I think it's a pretty conversational interview. I think those are the best interviews that I have, are the ones that feel very natural and more like a conversation. So just be yourself. Show me that you've done your research, and just be ready for a conversation with me. So at the end of the first interview, which is typically, like I said, a phone interview about 30 minutes long, um, we will talk about next steps. And I'll try to prep you as much as I can on what to expect in the interview process. Every line of business does their interview process a little bit differently. Some are a one and done process. Some are, a multiple step interview process. Typically after that, you're going to go into a video interview, which is anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes, maybe sometimes an hour, with maybe one, maybe two people on the team. And sometimes they like to meet separately, sometimes they like to meet in one interview, like a panel style interview. That's again going to depend on the type of role that you're interviewing for, what line of business you're most interested in. So from there, I communicate with the hiring managers from each team. Typically they like to see multiple candidates before making a decision. So if it's taking a little bit longer for us to make a decision, that's why we are still actively interviewing. But that doesn't hurt to just check in with me and ask how the interview process is going, reiterate your interest. I think that goes a long way as well. And so really, I mean, I can't speak exactly to what our interview process looks like because it does differ based on the role, but that's a pretty general understanding of what that would look like.
Absolutely. I was just going to ask, should students be following up with you? And not only should they be sending a thank
Yeah,
you note, but following up in that process as well. And you definitely just answered that.
good. Awesome.
um, let's see here, Leah. Let me ask you about ATS, applicant tracking systems. Is that
Mhm,
something that's, the students should sort of be aware of when they're
mhm.
uploading their resume for an opportunity? Does it matter in what format that document is? Should it be a PDF? Should it be a doc format? Um, I always say default and look at what the instructions say,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I don't, to be totally transparent, I don't actually know what the instructions say on our Workday website. But I mean, I have always I think it translates better into our system if it is in PDF format.
Okay,
So I would probably say, first my first impression of that answer would probably be, PDF is best.
sure.
If there's the opportunity to upload it in PDF and Word, you can't go wrong. But I think, PDF should be fine, because I have seen a couple of times if it was in Word, like it kind of cuts things off, it translates weird, and then I can't really easily find your graduation date or whatever I'm looking for on there. But I think, in terms of when you're uploading a resume, read through the job descriptions. There's nothing wrong with. I remember when I was back at UConn and I was applying for jobs and like job shadowing opportunities and things like that. There's nothing wrong with having multiple versions of your resume saved onto your desktop. Um,
Okay,
you know, I would say have a folder of like application to the Hartford group benefits underwriting position. And read through that job description, try to find keywords in that job description to pull from and relate to experiences that you have on your resume. And I think that's what's going to, another thing, speaking of candidates that stand out, if I'm looking for someone that has experience with, I don't know, well, I mean, Tableau, for example,
yes.
because that's something I said earlier. And it says in the job description, and you have experience with it, but it's not on your resume, absolutely put it on there. That's going to really stand out to me. So I would say that's definitely before you upload your resume. Don't just do a generic version of your resume. The worst thing you can do is, do the same resume for every job application. And I see in your objective that you're looking for a marketing position, but you just applied to one of our claims roles. Then maybe you might be a great candidate for the claims role, but if you're really ultimately looking for marketing, I don't know what your longevity would look like in a role like that. So, yeah, I would say that's probably some good advice.
And probably they should probably proofread a little bit too,
Yep.
that
Yeah, I've
resume.
seen I've seen it all. I've seen spelling errors. I've seen, just a lot of crazy stuff.
I
So
believe it. I
definitely
definitely
proofread.
believe it.
Go to the career center on campus. I don't know if School of Business has anything. They definitely did when I was there, but that was so long ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, just have someone, a second set of eyes, just never hurts.
Absolutely. And as far as cover letters, is that sort of something that's also expected during the application process, or is that depends on the hiring manager, or is it something that's even
It's
really looked at
it's
in your work?
well, I'll give my opinion, but I know that every recruiter is different.
Hmm.
I've seen people within the same industry at other Fortune 500 companies that always need to see a cover letter. if it's included in your application, I will definitely read it. I think a cover letter is a good way to reiterate your interest specifically in the field that you're applying to. It shows that you went the extra step to really show that you are very interested in a role at the Hartford, and specifically this one.
Yes.
I don't necessarily require it. I think, your objective at the top of your resume is a much shorter, more condensed version of what your cover letter should be. But if you feel the need to elaborate on specific experiences that you've had that relate very well to that particular position and some of the job responsibilities outlined in the job description, by all means, put a cover letter attached to your application, and I will read it.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's great insight. Thank you, Leah. I do have one more question for you,
Sure.
and it's really more of a takeaway piece for a lot of the students that are sort of thinking about whether it's a career now in insurance, working with the Hartford. Where do you see the trends, internally within the organization as far as the skill sets that are really needed, today and for tomorrow? What should some of the students be thinking about, as far as adding skill sets? I know you've been mentioning Tableau a few
Yeah.
times during our meeting today. Is
Yeah.
it data oriented?
I think, I don't want to say it is solely data oriented. I think data is a good way to back things up, of course. But there are some roles that aren't so heavy with, the data side. I think the best candidates to me, and I think in terms of what hiring managers are looking for as well, is someone that is well-rounded, someone that can show that they are great with data, but also with people. Someone that, also, I totally forgot to mention this, but adaptability. I think in just the last couple of years, there's so many examples that you can give in the interview process or, list on your resume of you adapting to a big change. And that's something that, the future, we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. If the last 2 years haven't shown us that, then you're in trouble. But
Absolutely.
I think, just being able to demonstrate that whatever may change in the future, I'm going to be able to adapt, adjust, and overcome that obstacle. I think that's something that you really want to stress in the interview process, on your resume. Technology, I think just the use of technology, that's a huge, you want to show that you're familiar with different types of technology and programs and all of that kind of stuff. Because we rely so heavily on technology. But at the same time, you don't want to rely too heavily on technology that you've lost that ability to connect with people too. So that's just, we're coming full circle. Now that's going back
Sure.
on like being well-rounded. And so I think, yeah, there's a lot of ways to really make your resume stand out, make your interview stand out. I think just being conscious of the fact that things have changed a lot in the past and will continue to change, and just being ready for whatever the next obstacle will be. I think that's probably the best thing I can say is what to do to position yourself to be a good candidate, not just now, but in the future, if you were to get hired by the company. So,
Leah, makes sense. Adaptability, being able to know how to pivot and be okay with change.
yeah. Yep.
What a powerful message. I know
Yeah.
we're running low on time here. I
Yes.
definitely want to share the floor with some of the students here today. If they have any questions, please feel free to use the chat function, or feel free to put on your mic and ask Leah any career-related questions that you may have now. I'm just going to filter through oh, go ahead, Olivia, please.
Thank you, Mick, and thank you, Leah. This has been super informative. I feel like every time the Hartford comes to chat, I learn something new. So thank you so much. My question is, obviously, you're based in Hartford, but do you have locations across the country and internationally as well, or is it more of a just Hartford-based company?
Good question. I know that I discussed this in my conversation with Women in Business a couple weeks ago, but just totally slipped my mind today. Yes, we do have opportunities. We have 39, or we have offices in 39 different states, not just Hartford, Connecticut. So our headquarters is based, of course, in Hartford, Connecticut. So I would say the majority of our opportunities are local to Connecticut, but chances are if you're somewhere else within the country, we've got an office that's close to you as well. So don't have offices internationally quite yet, but yeah, if you're looking for a role within the US, we definitely can find you something that works. So
Great, thank you.
Fantastic. Any other questions for Leah today? Let's check the chat function here quickly. Leah, I think that is it. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the university, the faculty, staff, and students for coming in and joining us virtually today. We're so grateful to have you in the Hartford and always supporting our students in career opportunities. And we're looking forward to having you back on campus.
Good. I'm excited to be back on campus. And
Awesome.
if there's anything that, questions that come up later, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I can put my email in the chat. I don't know if anyone can see it if they're watching it later.
Absolutely. Yeah, please. That'd be fantastic for students.
Sure.
If they had additional questions or to find out more about those specific questions related to those roles.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Awesome. So I put it in the chat. It's just leah.dilorenzo@thehartford.com. So
perfect. Thank you, Leah. Thank you,
Of
everyone, for
course.
joining. I'll see you next time. Take care. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.